My in-laws ignored our kid rules, so I took the kids away and made my husband deal with it. My husband's parents drive in from Phoenix twice a year, and every time they walk in, our house rules disappear. Bedtime is 8, but they push it to 11 because grandparents are here. Veggies become, let them be kids. Screen time turns into tablets at the table. I get called strict, and my husband just shrugs and says, it's only 2 weeks. Last Tuesday, they showed up 3 days early. No warning on a school night. I was stirring pasta when my mother-in-law breezed in and said she'd already ordered $85 of pizza and wings because the kids deserve a treat. Our daughter is 7 and had a spelling test the next morning, so I said we still needed homework and an early night. She smiled at me, then turned to my husband like I wasn't even there and said, don't you think she works too hard? He folded in 1 second and said, 1 hour at the new arcade won't hurt. They came back at 10:30. Our kid half asleep in the car seat, hands sticky. Wednesday morning was a mess. She missed the bus, forgot her backpack, and cried in the driveway. I left an important work meeting to bring her homework to school after she got a 0 on an assignment she didn't even know about. That night, my father-in-law announced he was taking our 9-year-old to a ball game 2 hours away, another school night. My husband was already grabbing the keys and telling our son to put on his shoes. I didn't argue. I walked upstairs, yanked open drawers, and packed school clothes, chargers, and toothbrushes into 2 duffel bags. I called my mom and said, can the kids stay with you for the week? 10 minutes later, I had both kids buckled in my car. My husband followed me to the driveway, looking confused, and asked, where are you going? I said, your parents wanted family time, so now you can have it. And I drove 3 blocks to my parents' place. My parents see the kids all the time, so the routine is easy there. Homework before TV, veggies with dinner, lights out, on time. I kissed the kids, told them I love them, and then I went back to our house, alone. My in-laws were waiting in the living room with my husband, arms crossed like I was on trial. My mother-in-law snapped, you're being controlling, and we drove 8 hours to see our grandbabies. I kept my voice calm and said, they're at my parents' house, and you can visit them there if you follow our rules. My father-in-law huffed, we're the grandparents, so we don't need your permission. I said, great, then you're in charge here. I grabbed my work laptop and an overnight bag. I texted my husband, you wanted this visit, handle it. Then I went back to my parents' guest room and worked like normal while my kids did homework at the kitchen table. Wednesday night, my husband called 16 times. I let it ring again. Thursday afternoon, the school called him. Our son hadn't turned in any homework since Tuesday, and he'd worn the same shirt 3 days in a row. A minute later, he texted me, what time do they usually do homework? I stared at the message, then wrote back, right after school, and no screens first. He replied, my mom just turned the TV on anyway and told me to relax. Thursday night, my husband showed up at my parents' door, sweaty and tense, and said, this isn't fair, the house is a disaster, so where are my parents? I said, they're at the hotel pool and they said they're on vacation. Friday morning, he texted me a photo of dishes in the sink and our daughter's unopened backpack by the door. He wrote, please come home. I didn't. Friday night, he called again and said, my boss can tell I'm distracted and I can't keep doing this. Saturday morning, my mother-in-law finally called me directly, voice tight with anger, and said, we're cutting our trip short because this is ridiculous. I said, that's your choice. Sunday afternoon, my husband came back, eyes red and hands shaking. He stood on my parents' porch and said, I'm sorry, you were right. I pulled out my phone and showed him a list I had typed, bedtime, homework, meals, screen time, and no surprise plans on school nights. I said, tell your parents these are the rules. I said, they follow them when they visit, or they stay at a hotel and we meet in public. Your choice. He stared at the screen, swallowed hard, and walked to his car. 10 minutes later, his mom called and hissed, we're leaving tomorrow morning because this is unacceptable. At 6 a.m. Monday, they loaded their bags and drove off without saying goodbye to the kids.